I'd like to call the January 28th meeting of the Public Works Committee to order. As this is our first meeting of the new term, I'd like to go around the room and have each of our members say who they are and what area they are representing. I'll go first. I'm Nathan Bruschi. I'm excited to be your chair for this term. I am proud to represent South Colony and Loudonville.
My name is Joe O'Brien, District 25, West Albany and Loudonville.
Matthew Peter, 5th Legislative District, most of Center Square. I'm also really happy Nathan's the chair.
Why, thank you. Paul Bergdorf from Latham, once again Loudonville, and also part of the Village of Colony, District 23.
Chris Smith, the Hilltowns.
Not a member.
I'm not a member. Bruce Simpson, second English. Sam Fine, 6th Legislative District, south end of Albany, downtown, part of Arbor Hill.
I'm Jeff Burley from the 31st, which is Western Guilderland, Altamont, most of Knox, and a little bit of Vernon.
Mickey Clary, 32nd District, from Townville, and South Guilderland by the Country Club.
Mr. Reinhardt, do you want to?
Yes, Bill Reinhardt, Slingerlands and New Scotland. That part of New Scotland primarily being Voorheesville and some of the rural area around it. Vicky Klotsky has the rest.
Okay. Since we wouldn't be anywhere without our staff, would you mind also saying who you're?
Deputy Majority Counsel Brandon Russell.
Director of Research, Curtis Kennedy.
Arne Zilgme, Minority Counsel.
Christian Barnes, Director of Research.
Thank you very much. The first item on our agenda is the approving of the previous minutes. If there are no questions or comments on this, can I please get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Motion, have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Move to item number 2 on the agenda, which is to authorize lease agreements with Berkshire Bank and Prime Companies regarding the corporate suite number 3, Hines Union Center. We'll welcome Mr. Bob Belver to the table.
Pinch it for Bob Belver.
Doug McLean's coming instead. Welcome, Mr. McLean. Would you care to kind of walk us through this quickly?
Sure thing, yes. We are looking for improvement in the lease agreement for suite number 3. Suite number 3 is a shared suite between Prime Companies and Berkshire Bank. Both are longtime suite holders. This is a renewal. We have increased the lease rental to match the other new suites that are coming up to $51,000. So this is a shared expense equally between the two.
Outstanding, and congratulations. I see that the county's net operating profits have increased this year from 1.1 million to 2.1. Let's open up for questions. Let's start with myself on this one. I'm just kind of curious, how important are box sales like this to the profitability that we see? Is it a large component, and do you have any boxes that are not sold?
All the suites are leased. We're at 100%. There's 25 suites. That includes the Leah Lounge, which is super box at 50. The lease revenues actually aren't included into the bottom line. Those are all directly to Albany County. So, to that extent, very important.
Is
Yeah, Larry.
51 a typical rate?
We have increased that rate. It was previously 48.5.
So you have some at 48.5 and some at 51?
As they renew, they will all be at 51.
Thanks.
Any other questions from members?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
All right, this is to approve this. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, authorizing an agreement with Tracy Road Equipment Incorporated regarding the purchase of 2 tandem dump trucks. Commissioner Raimundo, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. Yes, this is part of our vehicle replacement program. We're going to be purchasing 2 dump trucks, which will be utilized for various things in the summer, hauling material, and in the wintertime they'll be used for plowing roads. We're systematically upgrading our vehicles. We currently have 9 of these. Our goal is to have 2 per subdivision, and we're asking for approval.
Any questions from the members? Mr. Bergdorf.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
How were these, were these competitively bid, or were they part of a mini bid, or?
They're part of the Onondaga contract. We're piggybacking off of that. And we purchased them from Tracy Road Equipment, which is local. We don't get them delivered from Syracuse. which is-
Okay, I just thought it'd be good for some of the
Yeah.
newer members to understand that. I mean, many times the construction equipment comes from another certified public agency bid
Yes.
as part of a coalition.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the members?
Make a motion.
Mr. Peter, motion, second by Mr. Cleary. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number 4, authorizing an agreement with Master Consulting PA for design and construction inspection services regarding the County Road 252, which is also known as Knox Cave Road Highway Improvement Project.
Hi, this is one of our roadway rehabilitation projects. We're going to be rehabilitating approximately 3.6 miles of Knox Cave Road. Mazer was the lowest responsive bidder. Their bid was considerably lower than the others based on their construction inspection services. We gave them a call and asked them if they were going to stand by their construction inspection number because it was considerably lower. It was their feeling that the project could get done quicker than what we predicted it could be done in, and we're confident that they can get it done. We are going to hold them to their price if it does go over.
Yeah, I too saw that you know it was about half the price for that one line item as the rest of the vendors. And a concern that I have with government contracts is often when you see that lowest bidder, especially when they're much lower, there's a question of is that actually responsive? Can they actually meet that need? And
Right.
in your research, this is all in line. This is fine.
The scope that they, their understanding of the scope in reading through the proposal was spot on with regard to the scope. And so we questioned them, and they feel confident they can do it.
Mr. Peter.
Is there not to exceed language in the final contract?
That,
There generally is one. Yes.
okay,
All contracts.
yes, there is.
Mr. Bergdorf.
Well, yeah, the contract hasn't been written yet, but it will be put in the contract once it's written.
So there will be a do not to
Yes.
exceed. Great.
Yeah.
I know in construction contracts, there are performance bonds, but is there a performance bond in a professional service contract where a surety is attesting that they will do the project for the price that they have quoted?
There's not a performance bond, to my knowledge. There is professional liability insurance for their professional ability to carry out the project, but not a performance bond.
Not a performance bond?
No.
Okay.
Ms. Burley.
I'd just like to commend the department for making this one of their priorities for the year. For you who may not know, but Knox Cave Road is one of the major north-south thoroughfares, if not the major north-south thoroughfare in that part of Albany County, so thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments from the members? Can I get a motion? Motion by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Reinhardt. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 5. Authorizing an agreement with Crichton Manning Engineering regarding the design and construction inspection services of County Road 303 and 311, which is Beaver Dam Road Highway Improvement Project.
Yes, this is another roadway rehabilitation project in the towns of Bern and New Scotland, much like the previous Knox Cave Road. Interestingly enough, Crichton Manning was not the lowest responsive bidder in this project. Based on their understanding of the scope, they won out as far as the rating system went. Mazer was the lowest bidder for this project, but when we read through their understanding of the scope, it fell short. The second lowest bidder left out a couple of items that we thought were important. They were about $15,000 less than Crichton Manning. Based on all of the criteria that we used to judge the consultants, Creighton Manning 1L.
Any questions or comments? Motion from Mr. O'Brien, second by Mr. Cleary. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Commissioner Raimundo. Now we'll bring up Commissioner Latina for item number 6, authorizing an agreement with Landmark Flooring Concepts Incorporated regarding the carpet replacement services for the Department of Mental Health. Welcome.
Good evening, Chairman. So I say. Yes, we reached out to the Purchase Department under the current New York State OGS contract for floor companies related work. The lowest responsive bidder was Landmark Flooring Concepts for $104,000 to replace all the carpeting at the Health Department and Mental Health. This was part of our update of all the facilities project.
Any questions or comments from the new members? Motion from Mr. Cleary, second by Mr. Peter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number 7, authorizing an agreement with CT Mail Associates regarding the inspection and assessment services for the Times Union Center garage renovation project.
Yes, this is a no money update on their contract. We have, they've been working with us on the TU garage, and this is just to extend their contract for another year without any additional cost.
Standing.
Just for a quick question, how often do we get the garages inspected, and what's the level of reporting they do?
Right now, it's a New York State law where every garage has to be inspected every 3 years, from top to bottom. It has to be done by a separate engineering firm, which does the assessment report. That's what kicked in the assessment to this garage here. That's why there was some deterioration there that has to be taken care of.
Is there a multi-year capital plan we'll be seeing for the repairs?
Yeah, there is. We've put it into another, for renovation and repairs, bonding for that. After we're done with this garage, over here, we're going to be moving to the Spruce Street garage to do that garage next, to do the assessment on that garage. And this garage here, after the work is done, we'll be seal coating the bottom floors. Right now, we're concentrating on the upper floors and all the repairs that need to be done there, along with replacing the elevators at the TU.
Okay.
Mr. Bergdorf.
Two-part question. Is the renovation project taking longer than you anticipated for any particular reason from a technical point of view?
Well, with the consultants going through it, getting the engineering, all our engineering documents are done. All bidding is out right now. The bids are back for January 31st for the bid packages to come. So we've been working on the bid packages, the construction drawings all this time with CT Mail and their consultants to get this job done.
Okay, so you're gonna have a tentative final budget by the end of this month?
Yeah, yes.
And-
Well, yeah,
and-
we'll
and a-
have
and a
bids
work
back by
schedule.
January 31st.
And I have a second question for Mr. Thalen, which is responsive to what Mr. Peters said. Last year, this legislature created a facilities oversight committee, which basically is 2 members of the legislature, one from the majority, one from the minority, and 4 members of the administration. And the whole idea was to get them to refine the focus on the entire physical plant of the county and to come back with a series of recommendations for long-term planning. Because nobody anticipated that they were going to have $4.9 million in expenditures at the TU, and there have been a number of other projects that have sort of taken folks by surprise. So, Sean, you are in the process of probably scheduling another meeting shortly?
Yes, we should definitely do that. I think we made great progress the first time that we met, and we had some, tentative recommendations and an ongoing work schedule to adhere to make sure that all avenues are covered so we don't, run into this issue as little as possible. I mean, this one, the change in the regs and the inspection, not to make excuses for it, kind of snuck up on us, and, that's, we don't want to do that for every project, let's put it that way.
We, as Department of General Services, it's easier for us, as we're going along, updating the facilities reports, because we're still doing a lot of work to update the systems here now. It was approved here, we're replacing the cooling towers here now that are done, they're on the roof right now, getting ready to go. That was part of our capital plan in replacement of our mechanicals. We have a lot to do with the mechanicals in the buildings themselves, as long as that's in that line.
Any other questions? Hearing none, can I get a motion? Motion by Mr. Peters, seconded by Mr. Bergdorf. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Hearing none, it carries unanimously. Thank you very much. On to item number 8, which is authorizing an agreement with Full Compass Systems regarding the purchase of replacement spotlights at the Times Union Center.
The spotlights at the TU have aged out. The repairs on them are becoming very costly. We received 2 quotes. Full Compass System was the lowest bidder at $115,624 to purchase this product.
A question I had is where exactly these are being placed in the TU, or these?
These are the upper spots, if I'm not mistaken, like the, how you see the big spotlights, the car spotlights on the top.
Okay, gotcha. Mr. Peter?
Motion.
Motion, are there any other questions first? Hearing none, we have a motion by Mr. Peter, seconded by Mr. Smith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Hearing none, it carries unanimously. Item number 9, authorizing an agreement with Stage Right Corporation regarding the purchase of a new performance stage and accessories at the Times Union Center.
Again, the stage is aged out. You can't do repairs on it anymore. There's holes in them. We requested, we got 3 quotes. Stage Right Corporation was the lowest at $161,302. This, like I said, it replaced the stage is just, it's shot.
Mr. Bergdorf.
Question, Commissioner, how do we make a distinction between what's our responsibility and what the operator's responsibility is for sort of non-fixture items?
Well, this is a question.
Major movable equipment in that regard?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's what we initially do for the capital on that, and I mean, in the contract, it's drawn up, like, what we are responsible for and what the, I don't wanna call it SMG.
ASM.
ASM, sorry. Been using SMG for years, it's. And with the shows and acts that you guys have, the Times Union Center has coming up, and the needs for what they can provide for the acts that travel on that, and what would be assets that we would want to have in for those.
And it would become our property, it's our property, so,
I know that.
I mean, if, say something happened when we had a falling out with them, they would not be able to take the stage and say, well, SMG took, we bought the stage through our stuff. It stays with us to keep the arena running also, too.
Any other questions on this one?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Peters, seconded by Mr. O'Brien. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No. Moving on to item number 10. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Welcoming Mr. Lucas Rogers to the table.
I am not Mr. Lucas Rogers, I'm Mr. Mike McLaughlin. Sorry about that. Mr. Lucas Rogers was taken away.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, sorry about that. Should have given you a heads up beforehand. For the new members, my name is Mike McLaughlin. I'm Director of Policy and Research for the County Executive, which is a complicated way of saying I serve at the pleasure of the County Executive. Tonight I am filling in for Luke or Mike Lally, who, as everybody knows, are the rail trail experts. I believe this first item is for a linkage study. Apologies, this is authorization retroactively. We were made aware and applied for this grant during the period of time after November 1st when all RLAs were due at the end of last year. Therefore, that's the reason that we're asking for retroactive permission to apply. We will obviously return to you if awarded. This is a linkage study for the end of the rail trail that is in the more rural areas of the county. You can see on the cover letter the 3 potential linkage options that are to be studied.
Outstanding. And so there are no expenses associated with this request?
I believe there is a local share of 25%. Forgive me. Is in here, I read it before I sat down. Yeah, right here, 25 local cash match.
Is that the amount that we're requesting through the grant, or is that the amount that we're requesting from the county legislature?
So this is just authorization to apply. So for all grants, you need to come for authorization to apply, and then once awarded, come back to accept the funding that you were awarded. And in certain instances, you may actually have to come back again to amend the budget to accept the funding, but we'll cross that bridge if we have to.
We'll be very happy to have you then. Mr. Peter?
No, I just think that the CDTC grants, specifically when we're talking about the rail trail, what it's been able to do with reconnecting to Pearl Street and then the larger Empire Trail, that it's been really good for tourism and things like that.
Yes.
And then CDTC's just ability to deliver on these grants, it's a great job. And Mr. Rogers was here, I compliment him, so you can, take that compliment as, as a thing.
Right.
But
This was all done by him, so
Well,
yes, I will
right.
pass that through. And there's, to Mr. Peters' point, there's currently a study going on about one of the linkages you just referenced, so.
Yeah, so it's great, that's a continuation.
Mr. Bergdorf?
I believe the Shaker Road study was funded under the linkage study program. And there were 3 participants in that. There was the county, the town, and CDTC. Is there any anticipation of tripartite participation from the community that would be the beneficiary of this?
Not right now.
Is there a reason for that?
Just because frankly, just because I don't think it's been considered yet. There would have to be some coordination with any locality if one of the links was to be seriously considered.
Okay.
But it's just a
In
matter.
Colony, we were at
where the period of time was.
60-20-20. CDTC paid $60,000, Town of Colony paid 20, and the county, we paid 20. So, something to think about.
Yeah, the other complicating factor is this is multiple different linkages from different municipalities that could be involved. So whereas that was easier self-contained within one municipality, this is different.
Mr. Reinhardt?
Yeah, Mike, since you're filling in for the others,
Yes.
maybe you won't know the answer to this.
Well, let's hope.
So on the 3 options, the first one in that cover letter was to continue along the rail trail to the village of Altamont. Is that the rail line that goes right by the Voorheesville Library?
Yeah, the line continues past where the current trail, or
Right.
the rail trail currently ends.
Right. Okay, so it would be that rail line that goes right by the Voorheesville Library?
Oh,
and then
yeah.
continues to Altamont?
One of the limiting factors, maybe there may be actually an active rail line the commissioner just brought up to me, so.
I think they use like the backside of that. I believe to the library and a little bit farther. The trail is not active, but as you continue on, they use that as a parking station for other trains when they're moving.
Well, actually,
along.
right next to the library.
Yes.
I've seen rail cars just
So
stacked up.
they use that as
there.
parking. It's not through traffic, but they
Right.
do back up traffic to that point, so.
But is that the rail
theoretically-
bed that we would be talking about here?
To go to that far, yes, I believe so.
And then it would continue on out to Altamont from there?
As one of the
Yes.
options, yep.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, it would be good for getting the library.
There you go.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Burley?
Question, if that's an active rail line to Altamont,
We wouldn't be taking I assure you, we would not be working with a railroad to take over their rail line. We would only be using the extension that is currently unused.
but the plan calls for ultimately extending it to Altamont.
That's a linkage study, so it's using different ways to connect to different trails and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it a possibility to use county right-of-way that is not necessarily a current rail bed?
Yes. Yep, it kind of gets to some of the things that Mr. Bergdorf was referring to about using other resources and going off of the rail right-of-way. Generally, avoiding having to work with the railroad is a good thing.
And secondly, I think it's terrific if it could extend all the way to Altamont, but once you're there, you're so close, albeit several hundred feet elevation from Thatcher Park. Has there been any consideration given to trying to hook into the state facility.
That has not been raised until right now, so thank you very much. I'll let Lou Rogers know.
Mr. Rogers.
Any other questions or comments? Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Peter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Carries, thank you very much. Final item on the agenda, number 11, authorizing a customer project commitment agreement with the State of New York Power Authority regarding the development of solar panels at county facilities.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you very much. So this is the second part of a three-part process with NYPA for their consultation services for the solar RFP. This is the customer project consultant agreement. This kind of outlines the technical services that they will provide for the development of the RFP. If you folks aren't aware, solar RFPs are actually far more technical than they may seem. I can say this from experience, having written two during my time here, one without a consultant that didn't go so well and one with a consultant that did go well. So this is an agreement that will formalize our relationship with NYPA so that they can move forward with the development of the RFP. The locations that will be considered are listed on the cover letter. I can read them if you'd like, but.
Outstanding. I think it's great that we're that the county exec is kind of leading on this. I think it's a great topic for us to be leading on as a county. I saw the proposed locations on there. Do you have a strong view as to which ones would be done first, or is it in the same sequence that we're thinking about doing these projects?
No, I don't have any sense at all what would be done first. I would assume that would be outlined in the response. Many times these projects are phased or segmented in a way, according to the power purchase agreement, to get something up and running quick to create a flow of funding to kind of help with the other projects, or sometimes, depending on, maybe only a couple are considered viable, and so they'll do them at the exact same time. So there is no sense right now. A couple of these sites have already been assessed in the way that I mentioned earlier several years ago, so it all depends on the responses.
I saw that we had some that were on top of county buildings,
Yes.
and then some would involve the clear cutting of the trees. And such.
Yes.
From my personal stake, I would love to see us working for the rooftops first, and then only go to the trees if we have to do that. Any other comments from the, yes, Mr. Reinhardt?
I noticed in the agreement that it says the county could add other sites to be analyzed by NYPA and their consultant. How would that process work? Like, would there be an added cost and an amendment to the agreement if another site were to percolate up and?
No, as a matter of fact, if we move forward with, if the RFP goes out and we move forward with the contract, there's no cost to the county at all.
Okay, but what
So
would
even
be?
if we added sites to the RFP, there wouldn't be a cost.
Okay, and how would that process work? I mean, obviously, there's some consideration in here because of the language that we might have other sites that we would add, let's say the hockey facility or something.
Right.
How would that process work? Would it be just a suggestion from the, from your staff that says, okay, guys, we want you to study this also?
Yep.
And then they would do that at no extra cost?
Yep. As an example, in the previous assessment that we did many years ago, we had used one of the sewer district plants, which had some open area that was available. That is no longer available because of the anaerobic digester project. But so in the reverse way, if there was some other currently unidentified property that was determined to be identified as viable for this sort of thing, then we would identify it to the provider and they would incorporate it into their assessment, or into the RFPs.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Peter, second by Mr. O'Brien. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. McLaughlin. Reaching the end of the agenda, can I get a motion to adjourn? Made by Mr. Reinhardt, second by Mr. Peter. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Thank you very much.